Hello class, this is Mr. Tweed here with another AutoCAD lecture. Um, in this set of lectures we're going to actually begin a project that will really carry through much of the semester, and that is creating a construction document set. So a bunch of drawings that all go together to instruct a contractor on how to build a house. Now up to this point in the semester we've just been doing practice drawings to mainly learn AutoCAD, but also learn a little construction details here and there. And if you still need basic AutoCAD skills, you might go back and redo those videos. Because we're sort of moving along in AutoCAD and learning these things, I'm going to do this video to show how I entirely drew the assignment, which you can see up on the screen and I'll talk about in a minute. But in the previous videos I really talked a lot about, like, I'm left clicking here, I'm typing in these letters, I'm pushing enter, I'm pushing spacebar. Really every single step I really sort of said aloud. As we advance in AutoCAD, I might talk less about those specific details. I'll still talk about what commands I'm using. For example, I'll say I'm using the trim command now or the fillet command, but I might not say, okay, I'm doing trim, now I'm pushing enter, now I'm selecting with a green box, or whatever the case might be. You can sort of see it on screen, and you should be able to start to rely on knowing how to use those tools yourself. Of course, I'll always be there in lab and always be there in office hours, so if you get stuck on something, don't be afraid to ask me. Don't be afraid to ask your fellow students. So for this assignment, we're going to be drawing a foundation plan, and you can see what we're going to be drawing up on the screen. Right here, this drawing represents most of what your assignment's going to be. There's actually a few things not included in here. If you review the instructions on the website we provided as a PDF, they'll tell you other things that I'll also mention in the video about layers and things like this. But some of the missing things for the full assignment that we see up on screen here are that, of course, it'll have to be on a title block as part of the template, and there are a bunch of notes that are just listed out on the instructions as well that you should be adding to this plan, and I'll go over that in the video, but I wanted to point that out. So for now, of course, we're going to be doing this in AutoCAD, so let me pull this over. And I've already opened AutoCAD, and I've opened the template drawing that we are using. Like usual, I've set my template. I changed the medium color to blue, or cyan really, so we can see it on screen. But other than that, that's the default template and we're ready to go. So I'm going to start this drawing basically by just drawing out the lines of the walls and the stairs and the other things that we see in this plan. I'll then go through and do some of the notations second, and then of course finish it up with the title block. So I'm going to just drawing this floor plan. I'll sort of say how I'm doing it as I go and what layers I'm using and things like that. But I'm going to start with the exterior walls because those seem to be nicely dimensioned here. So let's see, I'll draw a line, come up to line, and draw over. I'm going to start at the top. Looks like the top is 38 feet long. So there we go, that way. And then let's see, down the side is 35 feet. 35 feet. Pretty much I'm going to start by drawing a box, although there is some ins and outs on this thing down in this lower portion. I'll just start by drawing the box there. And I will come down. I'm going to draw this little side piece here, and we can see that that begins up. This is going to draw a place to start marking, and I'm going to offset this 2'6". Sort of an easy way to start this. And actually I'm going to pull this line through here so I can erase it more easily later on, because the reality is I can start this drawing over and it comes over. Let's see, actually that dimension has question marks up at the top. Oh, I guess they're giving the internal dimension, so I guess I can draw that differently then. Sorry, this is the first time I'm drawing this floor plan too, and as you're sort of going through these things, you might not get it right on the first time. Actually, there's question marks on the inside as well. That is interesting. Oh, well, it's sent. Well, let me think about this. I'm going to pause the video for a second and think about these missing dimensions. Okay, not a problem. I see that they have 21'4" is the internal dimension for this second room. So I'm going to offset 21'4". and this is my exterior wall. So now we have to keep track, because this is the exterior wall of this space, and I could have done some offsetting to make that clear. But now this is the interior wall of this next space, and this one is 8-inch wall. So I'm going to offset O for offset and hit 8-inch to do this, and I know I can fill it this to here because this line is my exterior wall, so I've got to offset this one on the inside. So it's tricky. You have to sort of keep in mind, do I'm offsetting inside or outside for those walls? And I can trim these components away. I can fillet these two corners to make a nice clean line here. And then the total height of this is 28 feet on this side, so I'm going to offset 28 feet. Oops, I did 28 inches. Offset 28 foot mark, of course, is what I need to do. There we go. That's again the exterior wall, so it'll come in 8 inches here. Offset 8. And I'll fillet these corners up like that. Now again, these are mainly the exterior walls here, and in this space they are all 12 inches thick. So I'm going to offset 12, and I'll just come in on all of these. And there's a few ins and outs along a couple of these walls that I'll do next. But I'll come and fillet the corners together first. Like that. Oops, there we go. And then you'll notice, because these are walls, actually, you'll notice the detail here that I haven't added yet, that there's going to be sort of a brick wall onto the exterior of this, and that's going to sort of be pushed out. And so I'm going to connect this and do that detail later. Let's see, what I want to do is there's some detail down here that I'm going to do. And I know that we come in 13 feet. But we've got let's see, those dimensions are a bit hard to read on this, isn't it? It's 1 foot. Yeah, so it looks like there'll be an inset here that looks like it's 13 feet over and 1 foot back. Again, there's some brick detail I'll talk about when we get to that point, but I'm just getting the overall shape. So I'm going to start just by drawing a guideline down and offsetting this 13 feet to here. And then obviously it's offset 1 foot, but so is the wall, so the front is going to be up here, and then the back is going to be another foot back. So I can start by offsetting that another foot, or 12 inches, and that'll just give me a line there. And then the 13 feet is offset on the other side, so I can actually use mirror from the midpoint to get the second point here of a guideline, although I could have drawn the same thing, offset at a 13-foot line that way as well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend these lines up to here, and these two lines I just extended their exterior walls, so I've got offset 12 back this way and this way. And now it's a matter of trimming and maybe filleting and extending as needed. We're going to trim that line there. We're going to trim that line there. I actually need to extend this line there. Trim out that line. Trim here and here. And then extend there. And I'm in trim. What I'm doing is, to go to extend, I'm holding my shift key down to extend, and then I let go and it turns back into trim. So it's a quick way to sort of flip between trim and extend. And there we go. When I trim it all up, I get all this shape, and I can erase this guy over here. Again, there is a brick wall along the front of this, which I will speak to when I sort of get to the detailing of the hatching, I think, of those walls. That's when I'll do it. But there's also another space for a chimney up here in this side. So let me come up here and say 2 foot, comes 2 foot out. And it's actually dimensioned from even though it's closer to the top, it's dimensioned from the bottom line. And it's dimensioned up 23.6. So I'm going to draw a line out, offset that 23 foot 6 inches, it comes up here, and the whole chimney is 5 feet deep. So go up 5 feet, and it comes out 2 feet. So I'll offset 2 feet from this wall and fillet this together. And the chimney itself is an 8-inch foundation wall. So offset 8 inches here, here, and here. And I'll fillet these corners together. And we can trim up there, and we can trim up there. Here, trim up here. Oh, I don't need this line, so I'll just erase that line there. And you know what, I'm going to do it now. I think the drawing does not show these lines here to be trimmed and the one up the top, but I think they should not be here. So I'm going to trim that off there, and I'm going to trim that off there and make that all run together. When I do the hatch, I'll be able to do that all as once. So that's the basic outline of the walls. That's the concrete portion. So if you're looking at the drawing, that's the that sort of has the dots and speckles, and I'll talk about the hatch of that. There is a little detail of a series of lines. That's the actual insulation. I have not drawn that, and again, I have not drawn the brick yet. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw the footings, and the footings are the dotted line that surrounds all the exterior walls. And those are basically centered on the concrete foundation wall. And those are pretty much, well, on the main house, they're going to be 2 feet wide. Being that the wall is always 1 foot, is going to be 6 inches to either side. And I could, you know, do the math or whatever. So I can just start by offsetting 6 inches. So if I offset 6 inches that way and I offset 6 inches that way, that begins to be a 2 foot wall, but it's not on the right layer. In fact, none of my objects are on the right layer because I didn't think about setting that. But what I need to do is I'm going to select everything first off just to make it easy. And I should have done this first. I could have just set myself on the wall layer and turned it all to be that green line weight. But the foundation, that actually wants to be on a hidden line layer. So I'm going to put it on hidden line light. And we can see when I zoom in, it becomes a dotted line like such. I might need to adjust the settings on this. Actually, if I change my scale down here, we're going to be working in 3/16. So when I type in RE for redraw, after I set it to 3/16, which will also be used for dimensions, you can see my dotted lines now are appearing sort of to the right scale. I'm going to keep offsetting 6 inches around this main structure here. So offset 6 inches is set. I can do inside there, and I'll fillet this around. I'm going to have to come off the same 6 inches off each side, and down here, and down here, and the equivalent sides here, here. And over here, and over here. Now these foundation walls are only 8 inches thick, but you'll notice on the drawing that the footing width is only 1'4", so we pretty much still have the same 6 inches that we can offset here, and here, and here. Let's see, 12, 4, 4. Actually, if I do my math right, that's only going to be a 4-inch offset. So let me undo that. I'm going to hit U, enter, and just undo. Undid too far. Redo. There we go. Okay. It's collecting some of those offsets together, so I'm going to just erase these guys here. That was wrong. I'm going to offset that 4 inches instead. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and then I'm just going to match properties I've got the foundation wall set correctly here, and I'm just going to go through and select all of these lines to be these purple or pink dotted lines, magenta if you're using AutoCAD language for color. I'm going to have to offset that wall. I can come back and get that. I missed that point there, and one up here. So a couple more things to offset. Offset 6 inches here and here, and I got to match properties, or MA for shortcut, to here. In here, now I pretty much just have to fillet all the corners together. And I'm actually going to trim this foundation wall into that one rather than fillet, but minor detail there. And you know, this is where those of you who might be a little more advanced at AutoCAD might be a little bored watching all of these, or even, you know, as you get more familiar with these. But I'm just going to do it, and you can always skip ahead in the video if you don't want to see this stuff. And I, for some reason, switched to trim there, which works just as easily, but I could have stuck with fillet. Again, you can draw any number of ways as long as the end product looks correct. The exact tools and the exact order you drew it in, that doesn't matter. I just have to pay special attention down here. It's a little tight. And I imagine, you know, this is a much more complicated floor plan than we previously drawn, so this video is probably going to be longer, so you might find yourself skipping ahead. But there we go. I have the foundation walls drawn. Now, a few other things that are part of this foundation are those little circles with the big squares around them. Those are columns, and then of course the dotted line, that's just the footing below it. And I've got 4 of them in here, and I think I'll go ahead and put those in next. So I'm going to go back to walls, because I'm going to put the those columns on the wall layer. And the top row comes down 10'8" from the foundation line, so offset 10'8" down. And let's see, the left hand side is over 11'4" from this side, so I'll offset that way. And if you go to your notes page, which is on the instructions on page 3, it's going to tell us the size. 4-inch diameter steel pipes is what that says. So I'm going to go to circle, and I'm going to select that intersection and draw out. I'm going to, even though since it's 4-inch diameter, my radius is 2 inches. So since that's AutoCAD default, actually, yes, that's AutoCAD default, I'm going to type in 2 rather than 4 there. And let's see, it is 11'4" over from the other side, so I can offset 11'4", or I could use the mirror trick as I did before. Now that I have the circle set, I'm just going to copy it from this location to that location and snap it into place. And let's see, they are copied 11'8" down here, so I'm going to go to copy again. I'm going to select both of these with the blue copy. Select a base point and just come down 11'8", enter. And that's the location of my other columns. And you can notice that there's actually these sort of dotted lines that run through the center. They're marking the center points. And since I had to use these as guides, I might as well at this point just select these 2 lines and turn them onto my center line layer. And we can see it gets that dotted line that appears in your drawing. And of course the same with this line, and you can see that this one is extending all the way across. In the drawing it's sort of pulled back a little bit, so I might just go ahead and copy that and pull that back from this side and pull that back from that side, and then I'll copy this line down onto the other one. So I've sort of got those center lines set on the proper layer. In the inside here, next to sort of this column, there's also a set of lines. If you don't know what they are, those are actually stairs. And to the top right of that section, you sort of have a break line. and we'll draw all of that. So to draw the stairs, I'm actually going to change my layers. I'm going to put my stairs on my medium layer. And let's see if I can, oh, there's actually a blow up in the instructions. I might have to pause the video and get that out so I can see what that is. Okay. So if you go to the last page of the instructions, there's actually a blow up of the stairs. That might really help you read the dimensions here. I needed to see it. I couldn't see it on this little set of directions I had on my computer, but I have that printed out so I can start to draw these stairs now. The stairs are going to start 3 feet 1 from the center line of this column. So since this is a center line, I'll just start by offsetting that 3 foot 1 down. And the stairs themselves, well, the stairs themselves are going to be 3 feet. The railing centers are 3, 4.5, and of course the railing is 4.5, as we can see in the dimensions, and the railing center point is 1 3/4. Looks like from the center point of this line. So I'm going to have to start there. I'm going to offset 1 3/4 of an inch. That's the center point of my railing. This line that I just drew here. Now the railing itself is 4.5 inches. So that's 2 1/4 inches on either side of that. So I'm going to offset again, offset 2.25, enter. Oops, what did I do? I think I missed my offset button or something. So offset 2.25, enter. To either side of this line, there and there, is my railing. Now I'm going to erase this because I no longer need that line anymore, and I'm going to change this line and this line. Be very careful when you're doing this line to this line to my medium line weight, which is going to be my stair line. You can see that other one here, that's the center point of the columns, and that's why you sort of need the blow up to see those two lines running close by each other. I'm also going to match properties. I'm going to match to this property this line because that's the bottom line of my stair. So there's my railing. My stairs are 3 feet clear, so I'm going to offset 3 feet. And I'm going to offset again 4.5 inches for the other side of the railing. And trim up all the blue lines here, 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 and here. Oops, see, I was trying to be careful. I have to undo that step because I was trying not to get the dark blue line. Trying to get the light one. There we go. Got the light blue line. And then I'll fill it. The edges here and here. Then what we have, there's a note further up on the stairs that says 10 inch, and below the 10 inch it says TYP. TYP means typical. So basically mean all the treads, those are all the little rectangles we see inside the stairs here, they're all 10 inches. So I can start just by offsetting 10 inches. And the first line will go all the way across because that's the railing line. These lines won't. I got to remove the lines in here and in here, so I'm going to trim those up. So I'll end the offset there and trim it there and there. And I'm going to continue to offset. Now I need to offset up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stairs. I already have 2 drawn. So I'm going to offset 10 inches. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let me just verify this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that's the edge of the stairs, and then what happens is the stairs turn the corner at the same distance, of course. So the landing is going to be 3 feet wide, so I can start by offsetting this line 3 feet. And this line, just to sort of show where the stairs are going to go, that's going to come that way, and this line is going to come this way, and on each side of those lines is going to be my 4.5 inch railing. Now be careful, I just noticed in the blow up it says, it looks like the top railing is 4, but I think that's just because the drawing is cut off. You can almost see a little bit of a line. These railings should not change sizes. They're still going to be 4.5, so offset 4.5 inches. to the outside here, and the outside here. I'm going to trim up because it's getting confusing. I'm going to trim up and fillet some of these edges together. So I'm going to fillet this line to here, and I'm going to fillet this line there to there, and I'm going to trim that line away and this line away. And so I've got my first stair going up, and I've got one full one, and then I can see a couple more coming off, and then that sort of squiggly line, that's the break line. I'm just going to offset a few because my break line might not be exactly the same orientation. So I'm going to offset the same 10 inches for the here. I'm going to get this long line here that I need to trim, just like I did below. Continued my same 10-inch offset. I'm just going to offset a couple over like this. And now I will draw my break line. And so there's an easy way to do break line. You know, I'm not exactly sure where the button is, so I'm just going to type in the command for you. It's break line. You can see it come up. And the way you do this is I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to draw a line, or it turns into this dotted line, and wherever I move it, it's going to draw a line. And then I'm going to find the midpoint of my line, and hopefully it's pretty close to the midpoint of the stairs. I'm going to click there, and it makes that little squiggle for you automatically. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim, and I'm going to select this as my cutting edge, and then erase all, or trim away all the pieces that are above that break line, just like this. And then it turns out this line I don't even need. I can just erase this line because it was beyond the break line, and I've got a break line that's pretty similar to the one that's shown there. And I finished the stairs. A few more basic drawing components. We have the window. There's a set of windows, it looks like. Actually, there's a door and a window. It looks like that's the door is going to have that hexagon with the 1 next to it, and then the window is going to be the circle with the B1 over 48 inches there and there. So I think we're using the medium layer to draw doors, so I might as well draw the doors first here. And this door, if it comes down 11.6 from the top line, so I'm going to offset 11'6". Boom. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to extend this over, and I'm going to trim it up there. And this door has a 6'4" rough opening, so I'm going to offset 6'4" down. And of course we have to trim away the wall in this location. Boom and boom. And then we're just going to draw back in the sliding door shape. My guess is I don't know what the node is. I haven't seen the advanced drawings yet. So that one with the hexagon that's just off to the left of where I'm drawing, it's going to specify door information. That's going to talk about the exact size and type and probably give us more details about it. But since I don't have that information, I'm just going to sort of estimate that the door, I'm going to give this door, I'm going to actually do it as a polyline. And I'm going to assume that probably a 6-foot door for a 6'4" opening, which so each half is going to be 3 feet. And I'm going to assume that this one has a thickness of 1 3/4 inches. So that's what I'm going to do. Although again, since there should be a schedule, and we'll get these schedules later in the semester, those details should be there. So if your door doesn't exactly match in AutoCAD, that's one case where it's quite all right to do that. So I'm just going to move that here. I just drew the door. It's not actually placed correctly, so I'm going to move it down to touching this line. That brings it up here, but I know just mathematically that I got to move it down 2 inches to be centered. You could draw a center line, guideline, if you didn't want to do the math in your head, or however you want to center those doors there. And then I'm just going to sort of move it closer to the front, because this door is going to have some sort of frame. Again, I don't know the details of, and it's going to put the door out near the front, but of course not on the line. That's the exterior wall. And for good practices, I'm going to have this line here. That's the threshold, because you guys sort of step up onto the wall. And then my wall layers are going to come around the corners just like this. So there's my door. And then I'm going to have a window, which is going to be another 4 feet down from here. So I'm going to offset 4 feet down there. And I'm going to have a rough opening of 4'4". So I'm going to offset 4 foot. Whoops, I did 4 foot instead of offset 4 foot 4 inches there. And I'm going to trim out these two lines, and I'm going to put my windows on the light layer. That's what we did last week. So I'm going to switch over to the light layer. And I have to draw on the sills. So again, good practice is that the wall layer comes around like this, and then the sill gets the layer there. And it's hard to see the exact detail of these windows. They've got a nice little detail here. I might even simplify it further. Again, that tag's going to tell us information, but I don't even have the whole set yet, so I'm not sure what information is provided for this window. So I might have to make some assumptions at this point in time. And I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to come out 2 inches and go back 4 inches and come over, and that's going to be part of my frame. I'm just going to move this up to here. I'm going to place it back about in this location, and I'm going to mirror this across down to here and draw a midpoint line for the glass. So I simplified my window a little bit from the detail that's drawn there, which I think is perfectly, absolutely fine when you're drawing. We might, go and draw more detail if we sort of actually did blow this up, but you can see on the other sheet you can't even see it. So never draw extra detail that when you print out you're not going to see. Right? So a detailed drawing would be drawn separately, and we can get into that detail if need be. But this is quite all right for a simplified window. It's a great symbol for a window. Everyone will sort of know what it is. And the details will be on that schedule that we'll get to later in the semester. So we're getting near to drawing. We've got a few more things to draw here. One of the things, I noticed we have put a column out here. I've got to put footings around these guys as well. But let me finish the column first. Looks like this column over here is going to be 10 foot 8 in. It's going to offset 10 foot 8 that way. That'll be the center point up, and it comes down 13.4 from the top. 13 foot 4. Just like before, that's the center line of that column. There's no notes, so I'm going to assume that's the same column thickness. So I'm going to copy that column over, and these will be a good start for my center lines. But just as I did before, if we followed the directions, I'm going to sort of bring these in a bit here and here, and I can if I pull this up, I can see the dot get close to the center to know that those lines are about the same width. Like that. Mine might be a little longer. I think that's fine. It gets the point across. Now you notice there's these dotted lines that are around there. That's the foundation for the columns. There's no dimension on this, but if we go over to our page 3 of our instructions, I think they might be over here. Yes, 0.8 says 3 foot by 3 foot by 12 foot footing in 4 locations, so that must be these guys. And then the next one says 4 by 4 foot, so that must be these guys here. So this one I really just need a 3 by 3 foot box, and I'm going to do it by offsetting 1 foot 6, which is half of 3 feet. Here and here and here and here, and I'm going to fillet this together. And I need to put it on the foundation layer, which is this purple one. So I'm just going to match properties, boom, 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 and I can copy this over for all 4 locations. And I've got a couple choices as I start to think ahead for how to do the larger column base. And I could do the exact same thing that I did for that column, but start new and offset by 4 feet. Or I could just copy this one over that's too small. And I'm going to stretch 6 inches on each side, which is going to be the difference in feet. So now that's 4 inches long and 4 inches as soon as I finish stretching. Now it's 4 inches, 4 feet wide. Right? So I just use the stretch command to do that as maybe a slightly faster way. But if you're not comfortable with the stretch, I know it can be difficult. Go ahead and just do exactly what I did over for this one, but make the dimension 4 foot instead. All right, we are getting near to the point of most things are drawn. We still have to draw the insulation, which is that really skinny line sort of around the exterior of most of this foundation. And again, there's no dimension there, but if we look at our notes on page 3 of the instructions, we are adding 2-inch insulation, so we can assume that that is indeed 2 inches. So I'm going to go up to my foundation wall wherever it exists and offset 2 inches wherever I have this place. So that's around the top, around the side, inside here. Now this, again, I don't see the plans. This might be some garage or shed or something, so we're not putting insulation around it. We wouldn't need it in that case. But we'll see as the weeks progress what we're actually drawing. Being that this is the first time I'm teaching this class, and I'm working with another faculty member who made the assignments, I get these drawings revealed just like you guys do. So there we go, this way and this way here, and I'll do it here and here, and up in there, and up there. So I'm back around again, so I'm going to fillet this together at all these locations. Boom, 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 so on and so forth. Again, skip ahead if you don't want to watch a master filleter here making all these runs. Alright, and I can even fillet this guy to this guy. And since we are cutting through the insulation, that's why I'm putting it on the wall layer. Right? Arguably, I could consider making this a later line weight. I don't think the instructions say to do that. It doesn't really matter. That's just there's always a bit of interpretation when you're doing a drawing, so I'm going to leave it like that. And down along the bottom wall, we also have actually a brick line, and I sort of pre-included this. If we look at the details of this, it actually says we're going to have a 4-inch brick here. I drew it 12 inches because the whole thing is 12. That makes an 8-inch foundation wall. That's the result. But I need this 4 inches, so I'm going to offset 4, and I'm going to come up that way and come in here and here. I'm assuming on the elevation, maybe this is the entrance, and they're just facing the foundation in brick for aesthetic reasons or something. Again, I don't know, because I will see this as we're moving forward. Fortunately, most contractors, they do get the entire set at once. They don't see it single drawing by single drawing as we are throughout here. So there we go. There's the lines for the insulation and that brick wall in the front. And as for basic drawing stuff, the last thing that I'm going to do is review hatches, which the hatches are those little speckles inside the foundation and the sort of lines that we see inside the insulation, inside the brick wall. And I actually just noticed a couple more lines on here that I should draw, which is the pocket for what presumably will be some framing members that go on top of these columns. And we see the note in that they're 6 inches deep by 8 inches wide, typical. So I'm going to offset half of 8, which is 4, to get the sides of this. Boom, boom. And I'm going to offset 6 inches back, fillet here to here and here to here, and then trim off the bottom here, match properties here, here, and here, and then trim out these lines to make these little pockets. And I'm going to copy that over to this side, to there. I can trim this out now. And then I'm going to mirror, because I need them on the other side. Actually, they're not mirrored because they're on these corner pieces here. So I can offset. If I measure, I'm going to do distance to see. That's 4 inches, so that's half of 8, so that makes sense. Yeah. So I can just offset this 8 inches on this side, and 6 inches down, offset 6 inches down. And this is just going to be a full trim here, here, and here, and a fillet only on that side, so that makes that corner pocket. And since this is in a shape like such, I can mirror from a line that I haven't trimmed, say one of these exterior lines, down to make it here on this side, and trim this out. I if I trim that first, I didn't need to go to erase, but since I have that piece there, I will erase it. And there we go. I've made those little notches for what will be the structure. So now what I was going to say is those little dots and hatch patterns, those are the hatch command, and they are in the instructions somewhere. Let me pause the video just for a second. All right, the hatch pattern instructions are on page 2. They are point 6 in the instructions. So it just tells you when you see me run the hatch pattern, a couple of the settings that we need to change to do that. So the hatch command, I think that's a new one for us for this class. So it's this button right here. I'm going to just click on it, and I'm going to do pick points here. And when I click in sort of in this zone, we can see this all turns pink, and that's because I happen to be on the light line wire, and I could have switched to hatch beforehand. But I can do that after. And this is going to be the concrete hatch. So to change your hatch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this little arrow here and look for that ARC concrete there. And I'm going to set the scale to 1, which it currently is set to. That's scale right here. And I'm going to hit enter to end that command. And we can see that it makes these little triangles in these little dots. Now I need to select this, and I could have done this beforehand, but I need to go to home button, and I'm going to change it from light to hatch. Now since I got a bunch more hatches to do, I'm just going to be smart up front and now change my layer to hatch here and here. And you can see, because of the way I trimmed this wall up, this hatch pattern got mostly everywhere except for right in here. Now I could have hatched that at the same time, but I don't like doing that. My preference is that if I have a hatch and it is distinct and it's a separate hatch, I'll just rehatch. I'll start the hatch command and I'll pick it here, and since it's the same hatch, I just hit enter and I'm done. But we do have a couple other hatches to do. We have to do the insulation, which is in this little in-between zone, and we have to do the bricks. Now to make AutoCAD hatch work efficiently, when you do a hatch, when you start the hatch command, you need to see the entire area that the hatch is located in. So if I'm doing this insulation here that goes from here all the way over to here, I have to see the whole thing when I start the hatch command. The problem is it's really difficult now to pick the right point because it's so small. Now I could, and if I'm skilled and I can do it, I can do it. But I might want to zoom in to sort of pick it. And as long as I started it, actually in this case I am wrong. I'm going to have to keep it pulled out. I'm just going to be very delicate about selecting it. Sometimes you can sort of zoom in. It didn't work that time, but you can see I had to have the whole thing in there to get it selected. Now I'm going to change the pattern, and for rigid insulation we want to use the ANSI 137, which is going to be near the top. It's right here, and we're going to change the scale to 16. So I'm going to select over here and type in 1, 6, enter. That sets the scale, and now that it's all set, I can hit enter outside the screen, and I can zoom in, and you can see I get these little X patterns sort of happening through there. And I need to go again, and I'm just going to do it for all of those locations that I have insulation. And again, this is the trickiest part because it's so skinny. It's hard to click the point and get it. See, and sometimes you miss. Like I missed there, so I can just say okay and I'll try again. Sometimes you hit the line, again you just say okay and you try again. And I can zoom in here and easily get it. Zoom in here and easily get this one too. And I think that's that. And then finally I just want to hatch this brick in here. So I'm going to hatch. I'm going to hit H for hatch. That's a shortcut. I'm going to select in this internal zone, and we are going to use ANSI 131 for this brick pattern. Let's see, 131 right here, and we're going to keep the scale at 16, so I can just say enter, and there we go. Now, I could have done this before. I always like to save sort of internally. We're at a good point here where all the drawings are drawn, so I think I might, being 45 minutes into this, save the drawing and pick up with a second video to do the annotations. That way, especially if you're good at doing this, you could skip ahead all this basic drawing stuff and you might need to follow up with the dimensions. So I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm going to save mine in my 110 folder. Now, since we're sort of, working through this, I'm going to actually call this foundation plan. So I know it's part of the set. I'm going to go save. And that's this video. I'm going to take a little break, and I'll be back in the next video for dimensions and notes.